The first new functionality that we want to highlight in our MinePlan 2026 Release 1 is inside of our Schedule Optimizer product. We're excited to announce Scenario Manager. Scenario Manager makes it easier than ever to evaluate multiple scheduling alternatives within a single project. Let's take a quick look at Scenario Manager in action. So to go into Scenario Manager, I go under Utilities and then Scenario Manager. I can hit the plus button to add a new scenario and edit the name to whatever I would like. In here, I also have a way to flag the final scenario that I am going to move forward with. That way it's clearly communicated to any other users of this project. Now I've created my testing scenario, as can be seen with this dropdown at the top of the screen. Now once I've created my new scenario, I can then go ahead and adjust my new scenario. So these adjustments can be made in material mapping, tonnage constraints, or grade constraints. Now, when I go ahead and I create a new scenario, it automatically clones my existing settings from my base scenario. My base scenario here has 75 million total tons of material movement, and then when I go to my testing scenario, I have the same total tonnage movement constraint to start. In this scenario, I'm going to go ahead and adjust that tonnage constraint to be 80 million tons. Let's say, for this example, that I am going to add an additional truck to my fleet. I go ahead and I apply that to all my periods, and then I'm going to go ahead and run the schedule. Now at the top here, you'll notice that we now have this select area for our scheduling scenarios, so we can choose which ones we want to run. I'm going to choose them both, and I'm going to run this schedule from periods 1 to 5 as an example here. Now the program is going to run through all of our selected scenarios. First, it's going to run through our base, it'll get through all 5 of those periods, and then it'll do the same exact thing for our new testing scenario that we have created. So now it's completed my base scenario. Now we're going through and we are running the testing scenario, and really the value here is that I am doing this all in a single project. Previously, I would have to close out of this project, open up another project, make the constraint change, and run it. Then it wasn't really easy to compare the results side by side. So now if I go into my analysis report, I can go ahead and see the different information that I've got for this run. I can pull in my scenarios to see what is different, and I can put these side by side or top and bottom. You can see the destination material movement changes between my base scenario and my testing scenario just with that simple change of adjusting my total material movement constraint from 75 million to 80 million between these two schedules. The same can also be seen in our cash flow report. When we look at our cash flow report, I have my base scenario at the top. Here, showing an overall grand total of 293 million, and then I have my testing scenario at 291 million after these 5 scheduling periods. This gives you a quick introduction into Scenario Manager. The other new functionality that we want to highlight as part of MinePlan 2026 Release 1 is our new Model Calculation and Coding tool found underneath the Model dropdown. Now, the new Model Calculation and Coding tool works directly with our Block Model Manager models, and we've also combined our 2 calculation and coding tools into a single tool. Let's run through this really quick. I'm going to do a quick example here. I'm going to add in my topography set, and then I am going to select it from my viewer. So now that I've added my topography, I can go in here, I can choose above or below surface, in this case below surface. I can then choose my geometry set it to code below the surface, and then choose my topography item as the item that I am coding to, and I have the code checkbox to tell it to use this coding step. With this, I can also code multiple different objects within the same project, so I can add solids. I can add additional surfaces. I can do multiple coding steps within one single model calculation and coding template. Now, if I switch this over to Python, we've also upgraded our Python capabilities. We've upgraded our Python engine in the background, which has added additional capabilities like the ability to import new libraries such as NumPy, SciPy, and Pandas. We've added the ability to check to see if values are defined or undefined for different blocks, and then we've also added new functionality to geometry filters. When I go ahead and I use a geometry filter here, I now have the ability to use this usage column, and I can choose partials, filter, or both. What we've done with this is we've added the ability to use partials within your calculations. So if I choose either partials or both, I now can store this partials amount into a variable that I create here in the global variables. So if I just create this test variable, I can now assign it and use it within my calculation. This brings value from two different perspectives to users. You don't have to go through and code solids into your block model in order to then use those partial percentages in your calculations. We've removed that additional step if you don't actually need those percentages outside of those calculations. The other piece is now you can do both at the same time. I can put my solid into my filter here, I can code that percentage while also doing my calculation, and store both pieces within a single step instead of having to do that in a two-step process like we would previously. There is a lot of great new functionality in our MinePlan 2026 Release 1. If you want to start using this functionality, please go to our community site listed on the screen and download the MinePlan 2026 Release 1 from the page. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact our support team. The email address for our support team is listed on the screen as well. If you are not currently a MinePlan user and want to learn more about our products, we have the website listed on the screen for you to learn more, and also get in contact with us if you need additional information.